In remarks to CPAC this weekend, former President Trump cannonballed into a host of culture war issues. The former president slammed the teaching of critical race theory and gender ideology in the military and to school children. He also targeted Leah Thomas, the transgender NCAA champion swimmer who has set women's records in swimming. Attacking Leah Thomas and including trans women in women's and girls' sports has become a fixture in Trump's stump speech as he tours the country supporting his chosen primary candidates. It also shows that the 45th president has embraced the divisive culture war topics in the same manner that helped him win the 2016 Republican presidential nomination and the presidency. Trump is a likely 2024 presidential contender, and polls show him far and away the top pick of GOP primary voters, with Governor Ron DeSantis, another right-wing culture warrior, his only strong opposition.
It was that deep. We did a lot of it. As we take power out of Washington, we also need to take power back from the left-wing lunatics who are indoctrinating our youth. We have to finally and completely smash the radical left's corrupt education establishment. The current system is sick. It's sick. We have the lowest scores almost in the world, and we spend more per pupil than any other nation. School prayer is banned, but drag shows are allowed to permeate the whole place. It's okay. You can't teach the Bible, but you can teach children that America is evil and that men are able to get pregnant. Whatever it takes, conservatives must liberate America's children from the captivity of these Marxist teachers' unions. That's what they are. Where do they come from? Yeah, where do they come from? We need to defend parents' rights. Think of this. I gave a talk a few days ago, and I was talking about defending parents' rights, and I just said, it says parents' rights. They said, can you imagine we are going to defend parents' rights. Did you ever think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that we would be fighting for parents' rights? What's more basic than parents' rights, especially parents' rights over their children? We're trying to defend parents' rights. It's so crazy. Across the country, we need to implement strict prohibitions on teaching inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material to America's school children in any form whatsoever. And if federal bureaucrats are going to push this radicalism, we should abolish the Department of Education. And we will keep men out of women's sports. That's another one. And by the way, we have a great person here. Where's our beautiful, great swimmer? Gaines, where's Gaines? Come up here. Will you please come up here? Come up. This is a great champion. And she was beating everybody, and then one day she looked over and said, that's the largest human being I've ever seen. Come here. Come on up. She's been so brave, because a lot of people say you can't talk about it. They told me, please don't mention that, sir. It's not politically correct. And I did. About 3 weeks ago, the place went crazy. It was the largest applause I've ever heard. Come on up here. Look at this. Look at this.
Basically, all I want to say is that it takes a brain and common sense and 5th grade biology level understanding to realize that this is blatantly unfair. It's completely obvious, and so I spoke earlier today and I said a lot, so I'll keep it short, and I'm just going to say, keep female sports female. Yes.
Just to show you how ridiculous it is, look at me. I'm much bigger and much stronger than her. There's no way she could beat me in swimming. Do we all agree? Huh?
Thank you.
Now, I'd have a little trouble. It wouldn't be pretty. I wouldn't invite too many friends to that one, but how ridiculous is it, really? How ridiculous is it? The weightlifters, they're lifting numbers, they're breaking the records by hundreds of pounds. It's ridiculous. And no teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent. At the same time, we need to get critical race theory and left-wing gender ideology out of our military. I had it out. The world is too dangerous for America's armed forces to be politically correct. You look at what's happening with China and Russia, but you look at those rockets going up one after another, and we don't want to be politically correct with our military. We got to be tough. Can you imagine George Patton? You know, he had a very strong temper. He was a very violent man, actually, great general, violent guy. And he'd walk in and he'd be screaming at people. They'd throw him out of the military today because he wasn't nice. Now, we have to get back to running things. You know, I had it totally out of the military. I had it out of government through executive order. And you couldn't get the Democrats to go along with it, but it didn't matter. I had it totally out. One of the first things they signed back in was that nonsense, and we can't let that happen. We have to take back over. We have to take over government. We have to run it like it's supposed to be run. We must also win the battle to restore free speech in America. Republicans across government have to be ruthless in going after the new censorship regime. It's censorship. It's worse than it's ever been. I've never seen anything. It used to be, even 10 years ago, because I was always very active with different things, and I'd fight the media. I'd say something, you go back and forth, and you win, you lose. You like to win, but